Do you want to be part of something bigger? At Siemens, we use AI to transform the everyday. Our engineering solutions drive innovation and change. We're leading in technology and building a sustainable future. Join Siemens and make an impact to transform the everyday. Apply now and be part of something extraordinary. Visit siemens.co.in/careers.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
I'm not a name caller, but what I am as a teacher, I observe things. What I observed and you've observed about these guys when you see them, that it's a very clear thing. Yes, they are creepy and weird as hell. You see it. You see it. This is not normal. This is not normal behavior. Nobody's asking for this crazy stuff.
Well, this must be a Minnesota segment. There's the governor. Hello, kettle. I'm pot. Weird. This guy thinks boys should get tampons. That's Tim Walz and, of course, Prince. And that means my cousin, my first cousin, the great Norm Coleman, great mayor in St. Paul, great senator from the state of Minnesota, now doing a tremendous job running the RJC. I was at his event in Milwaukee the night that Trump spoke. He was magnificent. My cousin Norm Coleman. Norman, good Thursday morning. How are you, pal?
I'm doing just fine. And by the way, requiring schools to put tampons in fourth grade boys' bathroom, this weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's weird. Who the hell is this guy to call anybody else weird?
I tell you, letting Minneapolis burn down, which he did, during his George Floyd, literally did, Sid. He sat on his hands, and his whole comment was, a society that doesn't put equity and inclusion first will come to this result. It was like, what are you? Yeah. It breaks my heart as the mayor of St. Paul watched the cities burn and kind of watch him as he stood by and in fact justify. I mean, he and Harris are tag team. I mean, he lets the city burn, and the few that get caught, she bails out. She opens the border and he says, come to Minnesota. We'll give you free tuition. We'll give you free health care, and we'll give you a driver's license. This guy. You should look at the fact that he got an A rating from the NRA when he first was in public office and left with an F. Okay, he's being sold as this kind of Midwest guy, Midwest values, raised on a farm, heartland. He had an A in Midwest values. By the time he was governor and did the things that he did as governor, the policies he pursued, he got an F in Midwest values. So making Minnesota a sanctuary state is not a Midwest value. We talked about putting tampons in bathrooms, being a sanctuary state for, chemical castration for minors. That's not Midwest values. Burning through a $18 billion surplus, and at the same time raising $10 billion in taxes in one legislative session. Unbelievable. That's not Midwest values. That's not frugality. That's not common sense. And so, they're portraying something that he isn't. But that's the package that they're selling. And, of course, Sid, your friends in the fourth estate, that nobody asks the question. Nobody challenges.
I know. And you talk about Midwest values. Here you are, Norm, a kid from Brooklyn who went to Hofstra. But look, between all these years in law school in Iowa, living in Minnesota, and if I'm saying something that's not true, stop me. But I know you love Minnesota. I know you do. And I knew you love the values. But if I'm wrong, stop me, but it feels to me, cuz, like you're spending a lot of time these days in Florida and D.C., Virginia, not Minnesota. So I got to ask you if the governor and these new Midwest values have a lot to do with that.
Well, they're killing my city, St. Paul, by the way, is also suffering. They have put an all progressive now city council for the. So what does that mean? What's progressive about trying to get the streets plowed when it snows? What's progressive about making sure that small businesses and tax are regulated to death? And the fact that they do that on Grand Avenue, where I live, this neighborhood in St. Paul. You've been there. It's a nice, one of the great commercial strips. Businesses are closing left and right. And so these, quote, progressive values are not very progressive for moms and dads trying to raise families, trying to make sure someone has a job, make sure that the streets are safe. Crime, by the way, has just skyrocketed. Sid, your dad, who's a big guy and a tough guy, I remember him telling me one time he was a little nervous around the streets in Minneapolis when he came here.
My dad?
At one time, right? Yes, your dad.
Wow.
Your dad. Because, Sid, he had a reason to be. Okay, he had
wow.
And when your dad said that, I said, wow. Yeah, I had said, Harvey, yeah, wow. Breaks my heart. Wow. Breaks my heart.
Yeah, I mean, two of the toughest guys in history, my father and your father.
No. And they're saying, a little, concerned about, what's going on in the street. But that's what's happened. So murders are up and burglaries are up and carjackings are up. And the city burns, and he does nothing, and literally. And by the way, there was a bipartisan report done by a Minnesota State Senate committee, bipartisan, and they concluded that part of the reason was the leadership, meaning this guy. Okay, they were identifying with the values of the rioters. Okay, they were, his comment about, this society does put equity and inclusion first, going to come to this road. Somehow, the city earned it. That all those folks that got their business burned down, somehow it was like their fault. Yeah. Sid, this is weird. Okay,
that's weird.
This is not Midwest values.
My cousin Norm Coleman from Minnesota talking about Walz. So today the big story about him is stolen valor. I just played the morning report from Bill O'Reilly, who will join me in an hour. He's on every Thursday at 8:45. He's terrific, Norm. And he called Walz a patriot. He said, he's a patriot, but they're saying today he's not even that. That the truth is he ran out on the Minnesota Army National Guard. Any info on that?
Well, he had 2 years left in his contract. His unit gets called to. By the way, I visited with his unit a number of times. They actually served more time because their tour was extended than any other kind of unit in the Army. So they were there. They were on the front line. I was with them. We did a steak dinner. I took steaks from St. Paul, carried them in coolers with the owners of Mancini's and O'Gara's restaurant, and we did a barbecue in Fallujah with these guys. So they were in the heart of the battle. But when they get their orders, he's there for 20-something years. Great, wonderful. But then he's out. Okay, so for him, by the way, to talk about at one point, I saw some clip where he talked about he was talking about gun control, and you don't need these guns like the ones I carried in a war. Okay, he was never in a war, Sid.
Wow.
Okay?
He's basically your version of Dick Blumenthal.
Yeah. On that point, he is, and on a whole range of other points, he's Gavin Newsom in a flannel shirt. Okay,
oh, my God, that's terrible. And, this idea that, the reason why she picked him was because when he called Trump and Vance weird, she loved that. It was so great. Let's be honest, okay? And I know. We're not stupid. She wanted Shapiro. She wanted the Jewish vote. I'm sorry. Her crappy Jew husband doesn't work, okay? She wanted Shapiro. But her party...
You got President trouble on that.
I know I did. I know. He doesn't care, though. Trust me, I speak to his people. He doesn't care. But the truth is, that party hates Jews so much. They're so anti-Semitic that it wouldn't matter who she wanted. A guy like Shapiro would never work. That's the truth.
Yeah. When you had a day off and John was doing the show, I called in and said, and this is truth. This is pure fact. Okay. The pro-Hamas, the anti-Semitic wing of the Democratic Party, which is ascendant, they won this battle, okay? She think about it, Sid, just tactically. If you're going to be president, she has to win Pennsylvania. And so if you're going to cast aside the Jewish governor, the Zionist, governor of Pennsylvania, he calls himself a Zionist. Okay, though I disagree with him on some of his policies regarding Israel, but he's a launchman. Okay, and the pro-Hamas, the anti-Semitic wing of the Democratic Party, they won this battle. They are transcendent. This guy Walz is a big supporter of Ilhan Omar. Bernie Sanders loves him. Democrats, Socialists, America love him. The anti-Semites all love him. Okay, and so that it's the fact that she wouldn't pick Shapiro when she needs Pennsylvania to be president. Just think how powerful. This is, by the way, put everything else aside. This is a good measure of her and her leadership abilities. And what it tells you, Sid, is when the pressure's on from the crazies, she bends, she yields.
Yeah.
What's she going to do with Putin? What's she going to do with Xi? What she's going to do with it's this. This is a look at this as a measure of kind of the character of her leadership. She needs Pennsylvania to win. She forgoes the Jewish governor because he's Jewish, and in the end, they get someone who's like her, pretending to be something he's not.
Although he does help, too, because, as I pointed out to you a couple of days ago, and you loved this, you thought it was great, I talked about the two-state solution, which has nothing to do with Palestinians or Israelis for the Democrats. They don't care about Palestinians. They care less about Israelis. Their two-state solution is Michigan and Minnesota. So she couldn't pick the Jew. They wouldn't let her do that. At least she got the guy from one of those two states.
But she probably failed math, okay? Because if he loses Pennsylvania, you're going to lose the Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania. Said Donald Trump is again president of the United States.
And how does that look right now?
I think it's a little more challenging now. Trump has to focus on her. You don't worry about the governor of Georgia. We need Georgia, by the way. Okay, we need North Carolina. We should be winning in Nevada and Arizona. And so the president simply, I'm not that he's listening to my advice, but I think it would be helpful if we focused on the issues, because these people are so poor on the issues. Okay, America wants their border protected. These people kind of opened it up, and God forbid, there's an act of terrorism, which may be just an eventuality with all the bad guys they let in. Inflation has kind of destroyed, working class families. We've lost our jobs, to China. I mean, you look at the policies. The fundamental question, Sid, that's always asked in my business, in presidential elections, should be asked every 4 years: are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And so that's if that's the only question, that's the question on people's minds. Okay, then Trump wins. I used to say people worry about this issue, social issue. I say worry about the things that people talk about when they wake up in the morning and they're about to go to work, and hopefully they're going to work.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to work, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And these people are deal with business in a way that kills the opportunity for energy. To get back to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of the top 3 energy states in the nation. They're going to kill the energy. They're killing it. They killed Anwar. They killed the pipeline. This guy has California car mandates in Minnesota, killing the auto industry, and so jobs, the border, crime, instability around the world. And if Trump was in the office, we wouldn't see what we're seeing, and certainly wouldn't see it in Crimea. And I don't think we'd see it in what we're seeing in Israel. Because your enemies have to fear you and your friends have to appreciate you, and they got this flipped upside down. Okay, our enemies don't fear us anymore, and our friends don't appreciate us. And so, can he win? Yes, he should win. But is it a given? No, unless he does the things that need to be done, which focus on the issues and remind people how much better they were 4 years ago when you were in power versus the weird things that these folks have done to this country in the last 3.5 years, and what they'll continue to do at an accelerated pace with the most progressive, most far left, most kind of weird, political party. I mean, this is what they're doing. This team of I mean, she doubled down on progressivism, and I simply don't believe that's America. I don't believe it's Middle America. It's certainly not Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and those are the 3 states that I think will decide this election.
In the final 60 seconds, your friend and mine, Trump's former ambassador to the UN, David Friedman, is going to join me in about 10 minutes live from Israel. And, look, Israel happens to be a single issue for some voters, not the majority, but certainly Jews out there. And we know that Biden didn't care about the Jews. He doesn't hate us. Just doesn't care. He'd rather get votes and make people happy. I really believe Harris doesn't like us. Now she's come out and said, let me tell you something. A complete arms embargo to Israel, is something I'm willing to discuss. As the man that leads the RJC, when you hear that, what do you think?
She kind of played her hand when she didn't sit there as a presiding officer of the United States Senate when Bibi was speaking. Okay, she absent AWOL. Okay, so that kind of that's where you know where she's coming from. Sid, if this tick gets elected, Israel is in trouble, and I mean in serious trouble. Already they're facing an existential threat, and Biden is telling them what weapons they can use and not use. No, this is for those of us who care. If you care about Israel, I'm going to say this, and Trump gets in trouble for saying it, but I'm going to say, if you care about Israel, okay, you can't be voting for Democrats. You can't be voting for.
So when Trump says, and I say, and I take it a step further, he says Jews are foolish. I actually call my own people a disgrace. If you're a Jew and you vote Democrat, you're a disgrace. You don't disagree with that?
You know what it means is you simply don't care about Israel. And listen, this is a Republican Jewish coalition. It's not just Israel, but it's jobs, it's the economy, it's America's security. But you know, you've heard the line, you know, but for many of our brethren, when Moses came down from that mountain, he had those two tablets, right? We all know, but you know, a lot of our brethren think on one of them was abortion, the other was gay rights, and that's all that matters. And so no, but if you care about Israel truly, you really need to understand that if you vote, if they're in office, Israel's very existence is seriously at risk. And I say that not as an alarmist, but simply as I think a statement of fact.
No, I couldn't agree more. I had the same conversation with Mark Levin, literally at 4:00 this morning. Norm Coleman, I love you so much. Proud of you. Love you.
David Friedman is brilliant, and send him my love. A magnificent ambassador. And by the way, these are tough times in Israel. I have a lot of friends there right now. Ask them about what the feel is, because this is real challenging right now.
He is a great man. And by the way, if Trump wins, he's pretty much assured him he's going to get the same job back. So that's great.
He could have even another job. Who knows?
Yeah. Could be you. Hey, Norm, I love you. Great job. Great job. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
Cousin.
My man.
This is Sid and Friends. Can we add Sid and Friends and Family? Can we kind of add a little?
Yes. Sid and Friends and Family. My beautiful, brilliant first cousin, Norm Coleman, the pride of the Midwest, the pride of Minnesota, but we're so proud of him and love him so much here back in New York. Thank you, Norm Coleman.